this joke, and I've heard this before, but it's apropos for this time of year. Okay. Okay. An old man calls his son and says, let me get this down. Listen, your mother and I are getting divorced. 45 years of misery is enough. Dad, what are you talking about? The son screams. We can't stand the sight of each other any longer, he says. I'm sick of her face and I'm sick of talking about this. So call your sister and tell her. And he hangs up. Now the son is worried. He calls his sister. She says, like heck, they're getting divorced. She calls their father immediately. You're not getting divorced. Don't do another thing. The two of us are flying home tomorrow to talk about this. Until then, don't call a lawyer. Don't file a paper. Do you hear me? She hangs up the phone. The old man turns to his wife and says, okay, they're both coming home for Christmas and paying their own airfare. Good one, Margaret. At first you go, well, this isn't nice, and then you get it. It was so great, so absolutely great. Okay, I gotta find my space again.
You have to be a certain age for that to really hit home.
You have to, before that hits home, hang on, I've got to get back into Book of Awakening. Okay, so I've been, let me grab this. It just crashed, but we will find it again. I've been really present to PDF. PDF. I'm doing a Roxy right now. Okay. All right, so, you know, I had a kind of challenging couple of, I'm going to say last week, because as we start to evolve and as we start to become more awake, or as we become more enlightened, what happens conversely is that we also start to feel our emotions more. We start to have more empathy, we start to have, our hearts are opened more. And I'm not sure if this has ever happened to you, but don't ask to be enlightened all at once, because it'll kill you. Seriously. So there were people, I remember we had a woman here that she had a spontaneous Kundalini opening, which is a enlightenment, I'll call it. And she didn't have all of that happen to her, but it was very painful because she'd be driving and she would see all these incredible visions from the other side while she's driving.
Oh, man.
So she had to, yeah, so she had to like, hey, no, I need to get a handle of this. And but then, and this is true story. Conversely, there have been people that have spontaneous combusted. And if you've never heard of that, it's true, because it'll be too much and so much that they just go. And maybe they wanted to be with God again. I have no idea. But the whole deal is that, you know, we have those emotions come up. And because of last week, I felt myself just having so much empathy and so much pain in my heart, because there's nothing I could do for these individuals except pray and hold the truth for them. And these were a couple of counseling sessions I had. Nobody in here, by the way. And so it was hard. And then I said, God, you know, help me to be with this and tell me how I can move through this in order to be more present, in order for me, what can I do to assist these people, you know, in a way. So I was guided, and I'm flipping through all of my recordings, and I go to Soul Sunday, and in Soul Sunday, she had on, believe it or not, Melinda Gates, and you know she's married to Bill Gates, okay? And I never thought that I would be inspired by, you know, a billionaire, but she's a lot more conscious than any of you ever know. So they have this foundation, and she said something that helped me to understand and to heal a little bit. She goes around the world. Initially, you know, they wanted to always have this foundation and to give to needy people and people that are in need. So they put millions and billions and millions of dollars into the education system, which, you know, needs to be upgraded, obviously, because it's been that way since the 50s, and we are probably the worst in the world as far as our education, which isn't we're not saying anything bad, but they're just trying to find a solution for it rather than complaining. But what she also does, she goes to Africa, and she goes to these third world countries, and she just finds out what their needs are and what they could do in order to help the populations. And one of them is giving them vaccinations because they're dying, and they were dying and dying and dying from things that we would never think about because we've all had that for years. But beside all that, she said something that really spoke to me, and she was talking about a woman who said, you know, you're in America, you have everything, and it's so easy over there. I have a hard time because I have 2 children. Please take them with you. Please take them. I know. And she said she would have to just, I can't do that, I'm so sorry, you know, but let's look at some other ways that we can assist your village or whatever it is. And she said what she has to do before she goes to these meetings and sees these different villages and places, sorry, but I'm just, my heart's cracked open. She said, you have to let your heart break open. You have to let your heart crack open. Because in that feeling of empathy and pain and having that feeling of connection with other people, it's really a way for us to awaken a little bit more. But she said also, when we feel the pain, we have a closer connection to God. We have a closer connection to the divine. But then she said, then after I cry and I have issues and I have whatever going on so I can get centered, so I can move forward again, she said that I then asked the question, God, what can I do? What can I do? How can I serve today? How can I serve in a holy, holy way? And that's really, thank you. So of course EJ's song cracked me open. I'm like, ugh. And it's okay to cry. It is. It's okay to cry because part of awakening is that we have to feel our pain and we have to feel what's going on in our lives. And I remember reading, and I didn't quite get it, and I thought, well, what is he talking about in the autobiography of a yogi? And how many of you have read that? It's about Paramahansa Yogananda. There's one section where he's talking about, in his teaching with his guru, he was, you know, in such pain because he had to move fast because he was going to have this mission, you know, God wanted him to come over to America and you know the rest, you know, here comes Self-Realization Center. But during his time of awakening and his healing, he said it was the most painful thing he could have ever experienced in a short period of time, and he was obviously ready for it. But that's what happens with us, and I just wanted to bring that up because when you push down our emotions and we don't get present to what's going on, then we're not able to be, I'm going to say, the light in the world that we need to be, right? So I thought about it, and so these individuals that had come to me, you know, I said, dear God, you know, bring me the resources, blah, blah, blah. So of course, somebody at the rummage sale shows up, right? And I start talking to them about their situation, you know, because they're a therapist, so I can do that. And I don't tell them exactly what it is, but I think what it is. And she gave me her card, and now I can refer them to that place for them to get assistance in order to help them to move forward in their lives and get off the street. Because that's really what was going on. Because I thought, well, we can't do anything. And then I thought, no, we can do something. We can look at what solutions can we create, right? Because, you know, the challenge of faith is that we have to have faith that what we pray for is going to come into our lives. What we pray for is going to be present for us. We have to have that faith. And I know when we see, you know, somebody loses a baby, or, you know, I was watching Dancing with the Stars, and this couple, one of the guys that was dancing, you know, they lost their child, you know, in childbirth. And he went on and danced anyway, because his wife said, you know, just do it, because, you know, the baby would want that. I'm like, oh my gosh. But how do you reconcile that, you know, and you go, well, how come God took that baby? Well, we don't know the grand mystery. And I remember listening to Pastor Joel Osteen, and he said, you know, we don't know. We don't know the whole picture. We don't know. And so we just have to have faith that there is not a reason, that there is a divine something behind all of this. And that's all we can say. We don't know. That's it. But as far as that goes, Melinda talked about a book that inspired her, and it's interesting because Mark Nepo is one of the authors that we now use in practitioner training, okay? So he has a book. Is this the one you like, the Book of Awakening?
Yes.
Okay, it's a daily way. And now I'm going to tell you, you can get it. I'm doing a Roxy. She always finds everything on PDF. And I thought, oh, I bet it's on PDF. So what that means is that you can find it in writing. So anyway, on this Book of Awakening, he has a daily practice of the questions you can ask yourself and the things that you can do. So if you're having a struggle, you can just look it up on your iPad or on your computer and look at it every day and look at the questions. Because I have friends of mine going through horrendous things right now, and I guess that's why I'm getting my heart cracked open. I just have so much empathy for them. And what happens is that we then have to get present to ourselves, and then how can we serve? What can we do for them? And mine is always, I'm going to pray for you, and maybe God will guide me to take an action, okay? So on this, let me run to the back of this, because there was a reading, a couple of readings that I found. Okay, come on, there we go. Okay, so the first one goes with what I'm saying, and it is, gotta go to, the only problem with PDF is that you have to pop down through it. Okay. Tender hope. I don't know where this is. Okay. Let me go back up. Anyway, what he's talking about, because I want to read this to you, March 26th, is one of the practices for that day. That's why books are easier, huh? Okay. That's the only thing, because I found 3 readings I want to share with you because they're pertinent. Okay. So on this, it's titled, Feel Your Feelings. The fastest way to freedom is to feel your feelings, by Gita Bellin. This sounds pretty simple, but though it's easy to know you have feelings, easy to know their weight and agitation and suddenness of mood, it is another more subtle matter to feel them. That is, to let them penetrate your being the way wind snaps through a flag. This is necessary because if we don't feel our feelings all the way through, they never leave us. And then we do all kinds of unusual things to get out from under them. This is the cause of many an addiction. Interesting, huh? I've diverted myself many times by becoming involved with what surrounds my pain or sadness while never feeling the thing itself. So when someone asks me how I feel, I wind up retelling the circumstance of the pain but not feeling it. Or strategizing what to do next but not feeling it. Or anticipating reactions but not feeling what is mine to feel. Or swimming in the anger of injustice but not diving through the wound. Though we fear it, feeling our feelings is the only clear and direct way to free our hearts of pain. Isn't that beautiful? And he said, here are some of the things that you can do. Meditate on the ways you might avoid your feelings. Anybody? I have ways. Okay, let me find a good cartoon. In your silence, stop holding them off with your words or reasons or busyness. Simply be ashore and let your feelings wash against you like waves. Nice, huh? So with that, I just wanted to share that because as we do that, as we allow ourselves to be present, we're able to actually be more for the individuals that are going through a situation. Now, he awoken after he had cancer. And he was writing the foreword on this, and he had just gone through the last round of chemotherapy. And conversely with my daughter, the same thing happened where it awakened her and it allowed her to waken up to her true nature. And now she's struggling with all the stuff that we all struggle with. This is really hard, she says to me. I go, and it's not going to get easier, baby. It is. Congratulations, you're right in it. Because I always have this image in my mind that, you know, every time you go up a rung, atta girl, all right, Maryum. And then the next one, oh, whoa. Okay, meantime, the rung has been taken away. You can't go back. Sorry. Once you hear all this and feel this, and once you get to a level of awakening, it's not going to stop. But there's a blessing, because as much as I now feel more pain, I feel more joy, okay? So it's going to expand you in all that way. And that's what I love about it. So I'm going to move to the next reading, which is called The Sugar and the Tree, or like we were talking about I think it was last week, right? Where we were going, let's find the roses and the thorns. Yeah. So anyway, so this is December 19th. As someone sitting beneath a tree can imagine the earth from above the trees, a heart encumbered by reality can know eternity. As a boy, I spent many hours at sea on a 30-foot ketch my father had built. When the sea would get rough, I'd go below where the noise and motion of the deep would pound the hull, and every toss and lurch would feel sudden and poignant. Finding me there, my father told me how sailors, when feeling seasick, have always made their way on deck to look at the horizon. While that doesn't prevent the pitch and drop of the waves in a storm, it is somehow less upsetting if the larger context is kept in view. I have kept this wisdom close to me when pitched in storm. In truth, whether facing cancer or riding the insecurity of repeated rejection or trying to surmount the most profound moments of loneliness, my greatest pains and fears have been lessened when I manage to keep the largest senses of life before me like a horizon. This is the difference between despair and faith, between the narrow point of doubt and a view long enough to sustain all life-giving possibility. It seems we suffer more when huddled below, and through the eternal perspective, the horizon of all time and all life doesn't remove us from our storms. It does make things bearable. During the hardest times, keeping my eyes on the horizon has helped me endure such things as the loss of a rib, and a marriage, and a job I loved. For staying where you keep God in view allows the ups and downs of somewhat predictable. It even shows what suffering has its rhythm. Keeping the larger view can be the difference between thinking life is cruel and knowing that experience is a powerful ocean. In ways that truly matter, God is always on the horizon, and faith is always making our way on deck despite our pain. So he says, wherever you are, breathe slowly and be both where you are and above where you are. Breathe slowly and try to see yourself in your life and above your life, and feel both your pain and the universe surrounding your pain. And last, he says, when you find yourself huddled in your pain, try to breathe your way to the horizon. Isn't that gorgeous? So I wanted to share too, they have these little shorts on Oprah, and God bless her, you know, because I get inspired by what she does. But she was taking children who have learned to meditate and take a few moments before they slugged each other or yelled at each other or screamed at each other. And here's these little kids going, I know when I'm angry at Johnny that I just have to take a breath and breathe. And she breathes, right? And I just have to meditate for a few minutes so I can calm down and talk to him in a normal voice. Is that beautiful? It really is. And for us, it's really about just knowing that we always have that place of sanctuary and that place of peace. And for us to know that, it's incredible. So I want to close with one last reading. June 29th. Let's find this one. Okay. And here we go. Okay, so the last reading I picked, because I wanted to read the whole book, but you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't even buy one.
I know, right? Okay, so this is called the gift of prayer. And we've been talking about this. Prayer is not asking. It is a longing of the soul. It is a daily admission. It is a daily admission of one's weakness. And so it is better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without a heart. And this is from Gandhi. The great spiritual teacher reminds us that prayer is the deepest kind. Of the deepest kind is more a pledge of gratitude for what has already been received than a request or plea for something not yet experienced. Such an effort refreshes the soul. Implicit in Gandhi's instruction is the need to surrender to our lives here on earth. By admitting our weaknesses, we lay down all the masks we show the world, and as we do so, what is holy floods in. I once saw a blind man rocking endlessly in the sun, an unstoppable smile on his face. Not a word was uttered. To me, he was a priest, a shaman, and his whole being was praying and shouting in silence that the day beyond his blindness was happily enough. This is what the heart knows beyond all words. If we can find a way to listen, that beyond our small sense of things, a magnificent light surrounds us. More than anyone could ask us, this is what prayer, as gratitude, can open as in us. Oh, so here's something that we can do a little bit. Just take a moment. Center yourself, and as you breathe, close your eyes and cease all asking. Let's just take a few moments. Center yourself, and as you breathe, close your eyes. Simply breathe in with gratitude for the air. Relax and feel your frailties and imperfections, and let the simple air fill them. Breathe deeply and slowly. And from your tender, imperfect insides, ask for nothing and give nothing. Just feel without words for your soul's place in the fabric of things. So let's take another deep breath and just feel the air and the love surrounding us. Because if we can breathe, there's nothing wrong with us. If we can breathe, we are blessed. So my beloveds, I'm going to close with that because I wanted to give you something to be with during this time of holiness, this time of opening our hearts. And I wish you a blessed, blessed week. Enjoy. Get this book on PDF. It's called The Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. And when you feel distressed or you feel like you can use some inspiration, then you can go ahead, open it up, and it'll probably be the right reading for you that day. And it's a great, simple way for us to evolve and move into a higher awakening of not only our pain, but our joy. So peace and blessings, beloved. Have a beautiful week.